On this episode, we're going to be talking about rejection, why it's important to talk about, and how to handle it.
Welcome to Thriving Launch with Luis Congdon and Kamala Chambers, the show for heart-centered entrepreneurs who want it all. Do you have a product or service that you would like to sell online? Or maybe you've been thinking about it, but you're reserved to do it because you need a website, you need complicated systems, and you need to spend money? Well, I've created a completely free course that teaches you how to use Facebook in a purely organic way. This means no ads and no money are needed. You can use Facebook completely free. So head on over to thrivinglaunch.com, opt into my Profit from Social Media course. I'm going to teach you the free methods to using Facebook to make money today. Hey, Thriving Launchers. Today we want to talk about rejection and to kind of create a frame around what rejection is. And it's basically any time that somebody tells you no thank you, we're not interested, that's too expensive, we can't afford you, or no thank you, please move on. Or when you do like a Facebook post or social media post and nobody comments and likes on it, or when you go after something big, some sort of dream, and it falls flat. Personally, I think all of those are forms of rejection. And the big question, the thing that I really want to talk about is, one, we get that a lot. And two, how do you work with it? How do you deal with it? And how do you stay motivated so that you do accomplish the goals and dreams and desires that you have?
Yeah, it's a big, rough ball of crap. And rejection is really hard. It's something that I really struggle with in my personal life, in the business life. And, I found this sneaky way around rejection as much as I can, where I put you in the forefront, in the positions where you're the one that has to handle and deal with all the rejection, and I'm the one that just deals with all the back end stuff. So, we don't always have a buffer like that, but I'd like to hear from you, Luis. Like, how do you do that? How do you handle all the no's that it takes to get to a yes?
So something to share with you guys is I write for several major publications. Kamala and I co-write for some publications together. We run this podcast. We invite guests on the show. We have several digital products. We write emails. We do a lot of things where rejection is the name of the game. If you invite people on your podcast, some people are going to say no. Some people aren't going to respond. If you want to get published in magazines or be interviewed, you're going to get some people that aren't going to be interested, or frankly, are going to be like flat out rude and really give you rejection. And for me, this used to really hurt me. Like the way that other people responded to my pitches, to me asking if I could contribute or share or sell somebody something, I really struggled with it. And Kamala's watched me go through this process of being really challenged with the process of dealing with people saying no to me or having people just not like me for some reason. And I think those are all forms of rejection. And Kamala made a really good point. I think the first thing that we need to do is create some sort of buffer, right? And Kamala's been smart. She's figured out her buffer is let me be in the spotlight to some degree, right? But there's a buffer. And with that, though, there's a trade-off, right? I am now somebody that's in the forefront of our business. I'm a lot more public than Kamala is. And the trade-off is Kamala then isn't talked to as much by people, might not be seen as often. And the other trade-off, so to speak, for me is I deal with a lot more of the rejection, the no's, and the conversations that don't feel very good sometimes. I think the first key to creating that buffer, though, is self-care. And Kamala, this is something that you've really cultivated over time, is learning how to care for yourself and your needs.
Yeah. With rejection, since it is something that I respond negatively to, and I'm not saying that I've figured it out by any means, but the way that I handle it is through self-care, by taking the space that I need to make sure that I'm not putting myself out there from a place that's ungrounded or unstable. I have to make sure that I'm rooted in myself and my basic needs are taken care of, and I'm an emotionally strong state so I can handle whatever response I get back from people, which, is always, there's always going to be some response that you don't really like, right, Louise?
As somebody who deals with a lot of different people on a regular basis, as kind of as the salesman, as the guy who goes out and pitches and does interviews and does a lot of stuff that's out in the forefront, something that I've really admired that you've done, Kamala, is you've become really selective about the people that you call friends and selective about your social media feeds and the people that you follow and the conversations that you choose to engage in. As somebody who made it their business to talk to a lot of people, like for me personally, it's part of my business to engage lots of people. I've learned kind of the hard way that I actually have to get better and have improved that part of me. So I unfollow a lot of people that aren't exciting for me or don't somehow make me feel really good. I minimize conversations with people that don't feed my soul or nurture me somehow, or people that ask for a lot of free advice and continually do so through social media. I minimize the amount of time that I spend conversing with them, and I increase the time that it takes for me to respond. And that's something that I really got from you around self-care, is the importance of your community.
Yeah, that is definitely one of the biggest pieces for me, is just being selective, having that discernment of the kind of people that I want in my world. And if I feel like someone is not there as a supportive force or is not an inspiring human being, then I just kind of redirect my energy elsewhere. Luis, one thing I really want to hear from you is, like, you seem to thrive when you get a lot of no's. And I know a little bit about your story. Like, when you were starting out, you sent out over 100 emails trying to get guests on your show before you had anything going on, and you kept going. How did you do that? Like, how do you have the fortitude to get kind of to take that rejection as a positive thing rather than just a complete devastation?
That's a fantastic thing to talk about, because something that I've learned about people and their desire to have success is that a lot of times people think of like the ultimate goal, and that's the only thing that they see. That's the only thing that excites them. And if they're not reaching that, they're unable to stay motivated. So for example, today I pitched Forbes magazine again. A couple weeks ago, I pitched Forbes magazine. A couple weeks before that, I pitched Forbes magazine. A week before that, I pitched Forbes magazine. A week before that, I pitched Forbes magazine. So this is something like close to 3 months of me pitching Forbes, and it went from pitching just the magazine to then finding someone I could pitch, then writing that person several times. When they finally responded and said, we're going to take a look, then they responded and said, hey, something happened, we're not going to be able to get you in, to then here's another person you can talk to then someone else saying, here's another person you can talk to, and just following that. And what has helped me take those no's and those rejections is, as long as I'm hearing back and getting some kind of feedback, fantastic. It's all feedback. So when I sent those hundreds of emails trying to land those amazing interviews, I just looked at every single thing that I did as feedback. And one of the mindsets that I have around this kind of thing is, I'm never losing, I'm never failing, as long as I'm taking the information I'm given and I'm improving upon it. So first, I send out a pitch to Forbes, no response. Well, the information is something is off, so I've got to figure out how to get a response. Then I got a response. Oh, fantastic. Then I got another response, which was, no, you're not going to be a fit right now for this column. Oh, okay, great. But I got a response, right? And maybe my writing is good enough, and maybe I just need to talk to someone else. So every piece of quote unquote rejection turns into just information that I can utilize to improve and enhance my ultimate end goal. And so I'm never really being rejected. I'm only getting farther in my journey and in my goal and in my desire to get there.
That is really beautiful, and I'm so glad that we brought this conversation out. I hope that we hear from you guys. I'd like to hear about how you deal with rejection. Is it more like Luis, where you're taking that as positive feedback of what you can do to improve and what you can do to get to where you ultimately want to go? Or is it more like me, that you just practice extreme self-care and really try to make sure that you're in a grounded and solid place, so that any form of rejection that you're receiving back it's not going to completely knock you off your center? And I like to hear other ways that people are experiencing that and moving forward. So feel free to reach out to us on social media or email us, because this is a big, important topic. You've been listening to the Thriving Launch podcast. For books and resources related to today's episode, make sure to head over to thrivinglaunch.com. We'll see you there.